Welcome to the 6 Miles to Supper podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Cox, and I've lost over 80 pounds with intermittent fasting 6 days a week, eating whatever I wanted at my meals, taking a cheat day every Sunday, and walking 6 miles a day. And I'm here to help you on your weight loss journey. In today's episode, we're going to talk about weight loss habits. You know, I think so many times we think about weight loss as kind of like this magical thing, and it's kind of like a combination of luck and, like finding the perfect combination of foods to eat. And it's just like all these little things have to happen and line up and the stars have to align. And that's how weight loss happens. And I really used to think that way. But what I've learned is that weight loss, successful weight loss, and maintaining your weight loss all comes down to habits, just getting rid of your bad habits and getting into the good habits. And this is easier said than done. I don't want to gloss over that. It's really hard to break a habit, and it's really hard to get into a new habit, but you can do it. That's the thing. You can do it. You have to tell yourself, these are just habits. Habits are hard to break, but yes, I can break them. And yeah, it's hard to get into new habits, and it's kind of a messy process because a lot of times you're going to mess up. You're going to fall back into old habits, and you just have to say, okay, I messed up and I'm going to get back on the right track. And one thing that has really helped me with the whole idea of forming better habits is to kind of hook the habit into something that you're already doing and replacing the bad habit with something else. Like it's kind of difficult to just stop doing a thing. But if you say, okay, whereas I used to do this, now I do this, that makes a habit a little bit easier to implement. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the habits that I got into, and the different hooks that I kind of used to help me stay into these habits. So the first thing I do every morning is I weigh, and that's hooked into a thing that I was already doing, and that is every morning when I wake up, what's the first thing I do? And what's the first thing that most of us do is we go to the bathroom. So every morning when you wake up, you're already going to go to the bathroom, so just add in that habit. As soon as you stand up from the toilet, you step onto the scale. And see, that hooks it together, and it's just easy to be in that habit. And now suddenly, every day, you know exactly what you weigh, and it helps hold you accountable. Now, the next thing I do, because I'm in the habit of, okay, I just weighed, what do I need to do next? I need to put that weight into my Fitbit app. After that, after I've put that number in, I'm ready to start my day, right? So the next thing I do after I've put that into my app is I start my morning routine, which is reading the Bible, and then I journal. And in my journal, I write down, the goals that I have for myself that day, things that I want to do. And look, if right now you have a hard time because you're trying to figure out the right routine, you can copy mine if you want to. That can get you started, and then you can make it your own as you go along. And you might say, okay, well, I want to do something different. That's fine. But learning how to just put things into place so that you're on track every day is really helpful. The next habit that's really helpful is to stick with intermittent fasting just every day, to stick with the eating window and the fasting window that you've set up, or if you're doing OMAD, eating 1 meal a day, or if you're doing 2 meals, eating 2 meals a day, but just sticking with it, getting in the habit of intermittent fasting. And that's all it is. It's just a habit. It's a thing that if you're not good at it yet, you will be. It's just about practice. It's about getting into the habit of doing it. But like we've talked about before, this is a little bit tricky because you're just focused on not doing a thing, right? You're just not eating. And so instead of just kind of letting that be a vacuum that kind of feels like, oh no, what am I supposed to do with all this time? Instead of thinking of it in that way, think of it like this. Okay, what are you going to do to replace your eating habit, that habit that you had of snacking around and things like that? What are you going to do instead? Think of actions that you can take and things that you can do to replace that habit. So for example, some ideas, things that have worked for me, walking during that time, getting my steps in. So whereas I used to say, go in and snack around just because I was bored, I would get my steps in instead. Or, instead of having lunch, I am using that time to read or to write. And so it's just a practice of getting into that habit. Okay, I used to snack around at this time, but now instead of doing that, the thing I do now is what? And then just fill in the blank and do something with that time. Now, another great habit that has been super helpful for me is to learn how to stop eating when I'm full, just getting to that habit. And look, you guys, this has been a really difficult one for me to hone in. It has taken me years, and I still have times where I will overdo it at a meal. I'll just, I'll get busy talking and eating at the same time, or thinking and eating at the same time, and just eating a little too fast. And by the end of the meal, it's like, whoa, I ate a little too much there. But getting into that habit. And this, again, is a habit, and it's all about breaking the bad habit, but just learning those signals of, first of all, not eating too fast, but also once you start to notice the signals that your body is saying, okay, getting close to being full, listening to that and then stopping. It is a difficult thing to break, but it is a super good habit to get into. And, practically for me, this is how it sometimes looks. Once I start to have that feeling of, okay, I'm starting to feel full, putting your fork down, I push my plate away from me just to kind of signal to myself like, okay, I'm done eating. And another thing that really helped me was to simply stand up from the table. If I wasn't really sure, am I full right now or am I not? Just standing up, sometimes like that would be the signal. Like my stomach would actually suddenly feel like completely full. And it's kind of an interesting phenomenon, but that's certainly something I've noticed. Simply learning that skill, stopping when I'm full, has been so helpful. Now, the next habit is a difficult one to implement, but it's so important. It's incredibly important for your weight loss and for your maintenance, and that is getting into good self-talk habits. So in other words, getting into the habit of encouraging yourself and for thinking positively about yourself, about your situation, and to stop yourself if you find yourself mentally beating yourself up, or, having that perfectionist mindset, like I'm not perfect, so I'm not doing well. Instead, focus on what you're saying to yourself and then change it if you catch yourself being negative. And look, here's the thing. If you don't work on your self-talk along the way, it's going to be really hard to, first of all, to get down to your goal weight, because if you're constantly berating yourself, it's going to be really hard to, over the long term, stick with your plan. But the second thing is, even if you get down to your goal weight, if you're still trash talking yourself constantly, you're not going to be motivated to stay there. Eventually you get tired of that stuff, right? And you'll just sit there and eat your way back to where you were. Another habit is to focus on your food. So get in the habit of, when you are going to eat, when you sit down, that's the only thing you're doing. No phones, no TV, nothing. Just sitting down with your food and focusing on that. That one thing, if you'll just do that one thing, I think you'll find that a lot of the overeating and a lot of the boredom eating just goes away. Another habit that will really help your weight loss is to get into at least the weekly habit of sitting down with your numbers and doing a little review, just to see like, okay, where am I currently at? How am I feeling about my plan? And am I moving towards my goals, or am I getting off track a little bit? And just having that weekly review, because what can happen in the day to day, when you get up and you're just, you weigh yourself, it's like, okay, and you're trying to kind of keep track of that in your head. That's good to have that number. But sitting down with your numbers helps you to look over the long term and really see, are you making the progress you're wanting to make, and how is the plan itself going? And that's a good thing to do, and actually have a little bit of set aside time just every week, put it on your calendar and sit down and do it. And I think you'll find that helps you to kind of reset it. If you find yourself kind of going off track, it gives you the opportunity to get back on track. And it's also a really encouraging time when you are sticking with your plan. You can look and see what kind of progress you've made. Another good habit to get into is to visualize where you want to be. If you can get a really clear picture in your head. Now, when you're doing this, I want to emphasize being realistic. If you've got stretch marks, they're not going to magically go away. Okay, they're going to be there. And if you've had kids, there are things about our bodies that do change. So I don't want you to focus so much on the more vanity kind of aspects of weight loss, but instead I'm saying, put in your mind a picture of what you want to be like at your goal weight. And of course, it's perfectly fine to say, I want to look this way because, I used to be at that point and I felt really good there. I mean, that's fine. That's what I did. I thought, hey, when I was in college, I was in a good place. I was confident and I was at a good weight and I was really energetic. And so having that picture in your mind is really helpful. But have a holistic picture, not just your weight and, like flat stomach. That's what I want. I'm talking big picture. Like, how are you interacting with the world and with your family? And if you've got a husband, with your husband, and keep that mental picture in your head. And you will eventually get there. Just keep that idea in your head. Now, the last habit that's so important, and probably it's the hardest one to get into, but it is helpful. And look, this is something I still work on with myself, but it's about cultivating a positive body image. I heard a statistic this morning. It was that 91% of women are not happy with their bodies. They feel ashamed of their bodies. And that's unacceptable. We've got to do better as a collective group here. The fact is, our bodies are incredible. They are amazing. Like, for example, our feet never wear out. You can go barefoot for the rest of your life and you'll be fine. But yet I have to replace my shoes like every 1,000 miles because they wear out. Our human bodies are absolutely incredible. And yet when we look in the mirror, a lot of us trash talk ourselves, right? Like, we just stand there and we criticize, or we say we hate our body, or we wish this were different. And so I want to challenge you to get in the habit of every time you're looking in the mirror to compliment yourself and to look for the good. Look for those things that you do like, and do not focus on those things that you don't like. Life is too short to sit there and berate yourself about any problem areas that you have. We all have areas that are not ideal, or quote unquote ideal. The way that we perceive is the ideal, the flat washboard abs or whatever. And like I said, it is difficult to basically rewire your thinking. I from the time I was just a little kid, I would just feel bad about my body, about my stomach. That was always the area that I hated about myself. And so it is a difficult thing to rewire your brain after, what I had, like at least probably 25 or so years of just, always thinking badly about my body. And so it's a long road, and there are days I certainly still have issues here, but every bit of work I've done in this particular habit has been so helpful, so worth it, has certainly helped my marriage, has helped my confidence levels. So I want to challenge you to get in that habit of every time you look in the mirror, find something you like and focus on that. So remember, weight loss just comes down to getting in the right habits, to get out of the bad habits and get into the good ones. And it takes time, but remember, if you can, try to hook your new habits into something that you're already doing, or replacing your bad habit with a good one. I hope this episode has helped you, and I'll see you in the next one. You're sick and tired of being overweight. You're working hard to lose, and the scale refuses to budge. You're done with dieting. You just want to eat like everybody else. When you hire me as your intermittent fasting coach, we'll tackle the issues that are standing between you and the life you want. If you're unsure about whether one-on-one coaching is right for you, click on the link in the show notes and schedule your free 30-minute consultation. I look forward to working with you.